patience, that filthy little word they throw at you when they want you quiet, when they want you to sit still, nod your head and wait. Wait for the miracle. Wait for your turn. Wait for someone up there to remember you exist. Funny, isn't it, how they always preach patience like it's some noble virtue, when really it's just a leash made of silence and smiles. They pat you on the back, tell you to be strong, to hold on, to believe. Meanwhile, they're out there skipping lines, rigging games and cashing in while you stare at a locked door, hoping it opens on its own. Ah, real patience. Not the kind they spoon-feed you in children's books and bumper sticker wisdom. No, no. I'm talking about the kind of patience that doesn't hum lullabies. It growls under its breath. The kind that smiles while the world spins off its axis. You see, people have this neat little idea that patience means peace, that it means folding your hands, breathing deep, and letting life figure itself out. But that's a fairy tale for the weak, for the comfortable, for the ones too scared to grip the wheel and drive straight into the storm. Real patience, it's not peaceful, it's pure, unfiltered madness dressed in discipline. It's the man who stares into the fire for hours, not because he likes the heat, but because he's studying how it dances. It's the woman who walks away when she's disrespected, not because she's soft, but because she's saving her explosion for a better stage. Real patience doesn't ask for understanding. It doesn't beg for recognition. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't care if you call it weakness or if you think it's silence. That's the fun part. It lets you laugh, mock, underestimate, while underneath, it's building. Like a storm with no warning signs. Like a clock that ticks in reverse. They say patience is a virtue, like it's something polite people do when they want to be liked. But let me ask you this, do you think revolutionaries were patient because they loved waiting? Or was their patience the rope they wrapped around the throat of the system until it gasped? There's a kind of power in restraint that makes the loud and the frantic shake in their boots because they don't understand it. They can't measure it. They can't predict when it will strike. And unpredictability is terrifying, especially to those who depend on control. You want to know what real patience is? It's watching every door close on you, every hand pull away, every voice tell you it's over, and not flinching, not blinking, not breaking. It's smiling when they spit. It's standing still when they push. Not because you've given up, but because you've already seen the next 10 moves, and you're letting them dig their own holes with their own arrogance. That's the art. That's the game. Let them think you're tired. Let them think you've gone numb, while you're sharpening every thought into a weapon they'll never see coming. Real patience doesn't sleep. It doesn't rest in flowers and sunsets. It lives in basements and back alleys. It keeps its mouth shut, but its eyes wide. It doesn't rush into the room yelling, "Look at me." No, it waits until everyone's back is turned, and then it flicks the first domino, quietly, elegantly, and watches the world collapse from the corner of the room. The ones who truly understand patience don't need to explain it. They don't write books about it. They don't hold seminars or post about it online. They just wait. And when the time is right, they act. And everyone suddenly remembers their name. You ever notice how the ones who moved the world the most never really screamed the loudest? They were too busy building something while the others were still arguing. While the impatient ones were wasting energy trying to win a moment, the patient ones were planning to own the era. That's the joke of it all. The impatient think they're ahead because they're louder, faster, more visible. But they burn out, they fall apart, because their fire is wild, untamed, and short-lived. Real patience? It's the slow burn that never dies. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need a reaction. It only needs time. And time, it's a funny thing. It bends for those who know how to wait without losing their edge. You can stare into the void for years and still smile if you know the void isn't permanent. If you know the right moment will come, not by chance, but because you engineered it. You sculpted it in silence. You carved it with every ignored insult, every closed door, every failure. And when it arrives, you don't have to announce it. You don't have to scream. You just show up, fully loaded, already knowing the ending to a story everyone else thought was over. Waiting without purpose is surrender. True patience is strategic. But they won't tell you that. No, they'll wrap waiting in pretty little words like trust, timing, faith. They'll sell you this image of the good little soldier sitting cross-legged on the battlefield, eyes closed, waiting for the war to end on its own. But you're not blind, are you? You've seen how the world chews up people who wait without a plan, people who sit still and call it patience, when really it's paralysis with lipstick on. It's funny. The ones who wait without a strategy, they think life owes them something, that by simply enduring, they're earning points with the universe. As if the clock is some kind of god that rewards pain with prizes. But the truth? The clock doesn't care. It ticks whether you're laughing or bleeding. Time doesn't pat you on the back for being a statue. You rot the same way either way. But strategy? Ooh, now that's different. Strategy breathes life into patience. It gives your stillness purpose. It makes silence sharp. When you wait and you know what you're waiting for, that's power. The problem is, most people are afraid to be strategic because strategy requires one dirty little thing: accountability. It means you're not just drifting, you're directing. It means that if things fall apart, it's on you. And oh, how people hate that. So they slap a pretty name on their fear. They call it waiting for a sign, or letting go and letting fate decide. They're not patient, they're just scared. Scared to make a move, scared to be wrong, scared to fail. But strategy laughs in the face of fear. Strategy says, we wait, yes, but we wait with a blueprint. Every second you stand still without a plan, someone else is moving pieces you can't even see. They're not louder, they're not better. They're just playing the game while you're sitting on the bench praying for divine intervention. And by the time you realize the board has changed, you're already checkmated. That's what surrender looks like. Not dramatic, not loud. Just quiet defeat wrapped in the illusion of spiritual patience. And they'll clap for you too. They'll say you were noble. They'll say you had grace. They won't say you lost, but you'll know. Oh, you'll know. See? True patience doesn't ask for time to pass. It uses it. Every moment becomes a calculation, a lesson, a setup, a loaded weapon disguised as boredom. The ones who wait with strategy, they don't just sit, they study. They listen when others are talking. They move when the room isn't watching. Their patience is a mask, and under it, there's fire. And when they strike, it's not random, it's not desperate, it's surgical. You blink, and the whole table's flipped over, and no one even saw them stand up. There's a reason people fear quiet thinkers, because you can't predict them. You can't manipulate them. You can't make them rush. They don't bite the bait. They don't chase distractions. They're not here to impress anyone. They're here to win. And they know that winning sometimes means waiting, but never blindly, not for luck, not for mercy, not for validation. No, they wait because they're baiting the trap, letting the enemy relax, letting everyone around them get comfortable until they don't. Do you ever watch someone who waited for years do something in 5 minutes that shakes the whole foundation of a place? That's strategy. That's patience with venom in its veins. And it's not luck, it's not magic. It's the result of years spent in shadows, building something everyone thought was just dust. Because while the world was laughing, they were counting, calculating, choosing their moment like a sniper picks the breath to pull the trigger. The mistake most people make is thinking they have time to waste. They sit around thinking the future is generous, but the future is a debt collector, and the interest is cruel. So if you're waiting, make sure it's not for nothing. Make sure your stillness is loaded. Make sure your silence is heavy. Because the ones who wait without aim, without focus, they don't just lose, they vanish. Slowly, quiet, forgotten not because they were weak, but because they were unprepared. While calling it patience, people love talking about growth, don't they? It's all flowers and sunshine in their little speeches. Rise and shine, bloom like a flower, blah, blah, blah. But nobody tells you about the part where you rot before you grow. No one talks about the mold that grows in your soul when everything around you turns silent. That awkward, agonizing stillness when nothing makes sense anymore. And your own thoughts feel like they're out to get you. That's the real garden of growth. Dirty, unpredictable, ugly as hell. But oh, so necessary. They want you to believe growth is this beautiful, poetic journey, as if it's just a staircase you climb step by step with your head held high. No, it's falling down the stairs over and over, bleeding at the bottom, then deciding to crawl back up even though your legs are broken and nobody's watching. Growth isn't a parade, it's a massacre, and you are both the victim and the survivor. It doesn't ask for your permission, it breaks you down, then waits to see what you'll do about it. And most people, they run. They escape into comfort, into distraction, into lies. But the real ones, they stay in the fire. Not because they like pain. No, they understand something deeper. Transformation doesn't happen in safety. It happens in chaos. It happens when everything you thought was true gets shattered, when your ego dies 1,000 deaths, and your pride chokes on its own delusion. Only then can something new crawl out of the ashes. Something not just stronger, but smart. Something that doesn't flinch when the world throws knives. Because it remembers what it felt like to be torn apart without warning. You ever notice how people who've truly grown don't talk like everyone else? They don't sell you hope. They don't promise quick fixes. They look at you with eyes that seen things, and they know. They know pain isn't the villain, it's the sculpt. And they don't need to prove anything because they've already survived the kind of battles that would make most people beg to be invisible. Their silence isn't weakness, it's memory, it's data, it's depth. But of course, society doesn't reward that kind of growth. It rewards performance. Pretend you're doing well and they'll clap. Fake confidence? They'll call you a leader. But sit in the shadows, truly evolve, say nothing, and they'll think you've lost. That's the joke. That's the comedy of it all. They praise surface, not substance. But growth, real growth, has nothing to prove. It just is, and it doesn't ask for applause. You'll know you're growing when everything starts falling apart and you don't panic anymore, when things stop making sense. And instead of searching for someone to blame, you start asking better questions. Why did this have to happen? What am I supposed to learn? How do I become something more dangerous, more stable, more precise? See, growth turns pain into information. It turns confusion into fuel. It doesn't waste suffering. It repurposes it into a blueprint. People will look at you differently when you grow. They'll say you've changed like it's a crime. They'll accuse you of being distant, arrogant, cold. But that's just projection. They're mourning the version of you that made them comfortable. The one who tolerated too much, who smiled too easily, who said yes when everything inside screamed no. Growth kills that version, and it should, because that version was built for survival, not success. And survival is not living, it's delaying death. You ever watch someone walk into a room and say nothing, yet everyone feels their presence? That's growth. That's the energy of someone who's burned, bled, broken, and rebuilt without asking for pity. They're not chasing respect, they are respect. Not because of what they've gained, but because of what they've endured. They've outlasted the storm and became one, and you can't buy that. You can't fake it. It's earned in silence. So when you're in the pit, when everything feels like it's crumbling, congratulations. That's where the real work begins. The applause is gone. The mirrors are broken. The masks don't fit anymore. It's just you and your mess, your madness, your unfinished blueprint. That's not failure. That's the cocoon. That's the waiting room for the version of you that doesn't just survive chaos, commands. And when you come out, you won't need to announce it. They'll feel it. They'll sense it in your walk, your stare, your silence. Because growth, real growth, doesn't scream, radiates. Most people are terrified of silence, not because it's empty, but because it's loud in ways they can't handle. You take away their noise, their scrolling, their meaningless chatter, and suddenly, boom! They're left with themselves, with their thoughts, with the version of reality that doesn't lie to them through a glowing screen. Silence, for them, is a horror movie. For others, it's home. A dangerous home, sure, but home nonetheless. The kind of place where things grow in the dark. Real things, twisted things, powerful things. You see, there's a difference between being quiet and being silenced. The world will try both on you just to see how you respond. First they ignore you, then they mock you, then they try to erase you. But erasure is tricky. It only works if you believe it. If you hand over the pen and stop writing your story. But what if you keep going? What if you let them delete the surface while you build a foundation they can't even see? That's when the real fun begins. They tried to erase the wrong person, didn't they? Thought you were weak, thought you were finished. That's the punchline. They saw one chapter and closed the book. What they didn't know is some stories get rewritten in blood, in scars, in silent hours where nobody's watching. You weren't being erased, you were being edited. And what comes next is not for the faint of heart. People don't realize how much strength it takes to say nothing, to sit in the shadows while the world throws garbage at your name, to smile while they write your obituary, not knowing you're still breathing, still building. They think the loudest one wins, but silence, when mastered, becomes a weapon, not because it's quiet, but because it's controlled. It's a storm held behind a smirk, a scream sharpened into a whisper, and that scares them more than anything. You ever wonder why they try so hard to cancel the quiet ones? Why they panic when someone walks alone but walks with purpose? Because deep down they know. They know real power doesn't need validation. It doesn't beg, it doesn't chase applause, it just exists. And that kind of presence disrupts their illusion of control. You're supposed to fall apart, you're supposed to break, cry, post about your pain, and beg for likes. But you didn't. You just disappeared. And they don't know what to do with that. Revenge isn't loud, it's not dramatic, it's not some blockbuster moment with explosions and applause. No, real revenge is becoming so untouchable, so far above what tried to destroy you, that they choke on their own memory of you. It's living in a way they never imagined possible. It's outlasting their hate with elegance. It's growing in ways they never prepared for. You don't need to fight them. You just need to become someone they can't recognize anymore. Be. Living in a way they never prepared for. You don't need to fight them. You just need to become someone they can't recognize anymore. That's not revenge. That's evolution. The funny part, they think they're still the main characters. They walk around with this arrogance like the story still revolves around them. But what they don't see, your story left their orbit a long time ago. You're in a different timeline now, one where their name isn't even whispered, where their existence becomes a footnote, a faded stain, a laughable detour. They wanted to be the villain in your story, but you turned the whole genre upside down. Now they don't even get a role. It's strange, isn't it? How the people who try to erase you end up erasing themselves. Because in trying to destroy you, they reveal themselves, their weakness, their obsession, their fear. They put so much energy into holding you back, they never noticed you stopped caring. You moved on, quietly, powerfully, without needing a stage, and that's what haunts them. Not your anger, not your revenge, but your absence. The fact that they no longer matter, that they never did. Some people are born loud, others are made silent, but a rare few, they choose silence. They study it, master it, turn it into armor, and when the world tries to erase them, they smile, not because they enjoy pain, but because they've learned something everyone else forgot. You can't delete what was never on their system to begin with. You can't destroy someone who built themselves from the parts no one else wanted. You can't silence the sound of someone who only ever spoke in actions. So let them try. Let them write you off, count you out, call you crazy. They're just writing the intro to a story that doesn't need their ink. Oh, now this one stings, doesn't it? The betrayal. The twist of the knife you never saw coming. Not from enemies, no, that's too easy. You expected that. But from the ones who smiled while they stabbed. The ones who said they'd never leave. The ones who looked into your eyes, made you believe, and then vanished when the fire got too hot. And now here you are, ashes in your mouth, heart in pieces, mind spinning like a broken record, playing a song called Why. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Betrayal is just forced clarity. It's truth bleeding through the cracks in the lie. It's reality screaming so loud it breaks the fantasy you were clinging to. They didn't change. They didn't turn into monsters. They were monsters. You just refused to see it. You gave them the benefit of the doubt because that's what kind souls do. But kind doesn't mean stupid. And pain sharpens the vision. Pain turns daydreamers into detectors. Pain teaches you to watch. It's a dangerous thing, isn't it? Trust. So fragile, so sacred. You hand it over like a gift, wrapped in all your history and hope, and pray they don't drop it. But most people are clumsy. Or worse, they're careless on purpose, because they see trust not as a gift, but as leverage, a weakness, a shortcut to your softest parts. And when they don't get what they want, snap, the mask drops. The truth walks in, and now you're alone in the room with it. Let them walk, let them run, let them rewrite the story to make themselves the hero. That's their coping mechanism, their shield. But you hold the truth. You lived it, you saw it, you survived it. And that's your edge. Because people who survive betrayal don't come back the same. They come back dangerous. Not because they hate, but because they know. They know how to spot liars. They know how to stand alone. They know what love isn't. You ever seen someone smile after betrayal? That smile that doesn't reach the eyes. That's the smile of someone who walked through fire and didn't scream. That's the smile of someone who realized pain doesn't kill, it forges. That's the smile of someone who knows revenge isn't always about action. Sometimes revenge is becoming untouchable, unreadable, unbothered, while they spiral in the mess they made. You're out here building quietly, ruthlessly. They'll watch you, from the shadows, from fake profiles, from mutual friends. They'll act like they don't care, but every win you stack, every smile you wear, every time you don't fold, that's a dagger in their ego. They didn't expect you to rise. They expected destruction, depression, maybe even disappearance, but not this, not growth, not the audacity to evolve after being gutted. That's the part that haunts them. The best part, you don't even need to speak. Silence becomes your language. Indifference becomes your shield. You learn to observe without reacting. You learn to feel without falling apart. And slowly, you become someone they can't reach, someone they never really knew, someone they couldn't destroy even if they tried again, because the version of you that loved them, that one's gone. What's left is a masterpiece painted in pain. They'll say you changed, they always do. As if that's an insult, as if staying the same after betrayal is some kind of virtue. But you did change. You burned the blueprint. You rewired your soul. You stopped playing nice with people who only knew how to take. And now you walk different, think different, love different. And if that makes you the villain in their story, so be it. At least you're no longer a pawn in someone else's game. And somewhere deep down, you thank them. Not out loud, of course. That would ruin the poetry. But quietly, in the back of your mind, you tip your hat to the pain. Because without them, you'd still be asleep. Still trusting too quickly. Still believing in fairy tales that always end in heartbreak. They woke you up. They cracked the illusion. They made you real. And real is rare. Real is terrifying. Real doesn't beg for company. Real creates its own gravity. So let them tell their version. Let them paint themselves in light. You don't need to prove them wrong. Life does that for you. Time has a way of peeling back the mask and showing the audience what was really underneath. And by then, you'll be long gone. Not running, not hiding, just elsewhere. Evolved, elevated, untouched. Watching the stage burn from a throne built out of all the knives they left in your back. Oh, this one is my favorite, because it's not loud, it's not flashy. It doesn't scream or shout or storm into the room demanding applause. No, it just waits. Like a predator in tall grass, like a storm gathering behind clear skies. Patience. The kind of patience that unnerves people because it doesn't make sense. You're supposed to break, they say. You're supposed to flinch, panic, collapse under the weight of uncertainty. But you don't. You just sit there, breathing, smiling, watching, waiting. And that terrifies them. See, most people are addicted to speed. They want the shortcut, the fast track, the instant result. If it doesn't happen now, they think it'll never happen. And that's where they lose. That's where they throw it all away. Because they don't realize some victories are slow cooked. Some wars are won by the ones who wait. The ones who outlast. The ones who know how to be quiet when everyone else is making noise. The ones who understand that delay doesn't mean denial. Patience isn't passive. That's the joke. That's the part they never get. Patience isn't sitting on your hands hoping for a miracle. No. It's discipline. It's strategy. It's knowing exactly what you want and resisting everything that tries to pull you off course. The chaos, the temptation, the distractions dressed as opportunities. Patience is saying not yet when everything in you is screaming now. It's building in silence while everyone else is broadcasting failures disguised as wins. It's staying in your lane so long, people forget you were even in the race, until you pass them all, one by one. And oh, how they laugh at first. They mock the slowness, the silence, the solitude. They don't see the grind. They don't see the seeds you're planting while they're busy shouting about trees they never watered. But patience is quiet power. It's the slow drip that carves through stone. It's the stare that outlasts the scream. It's the kind of control that drives people mad because they can't figure it out. They can't understand why you're not panicking like them, why you're not rushing like them, why you're still standing while they're falling apart. Let them rush. Let them sprint into walls. Let them burn themselves out chasing every shiny thing that moves. Because while they're busy moving fast, they forget to move smart. And you're watching. You're learning. You're calculating. You're waiting for the perfect moment. Not just any moment, the right one. Because when you strike, it won't be loud. It'll be surgical, precise, unstoppable. And by the time they notice, it'll be too late. You'll already be gone, already ahead, already built. You know what patience really is? It's self-respect. It's knowing you're worth the wait. It's not settling for scraps just because you're hungry. It's starving for what's yours, not feeding on what's easy. It's trusting the process even when the process feels like punishment. It's sitting with discomfort and not letting it define you. It's being your own anchor in a world that wants to drown you in deadlines and dopamine. And the world hates patience, 'cause it can't monetize it. It can't brand it. It can't sell it in 30-second clips. It's not sexy. It's not shareable. But it works. And the few who get it, they become dangerous, untouchable, because they don't blink. They don't budge. They don't break under pressure. They move when they decide to move. And there's nothing more terrifying than someone who can't be rushed, can't be provoked, can't be manipulated by urgency or applause. So sit still, let the chaos spin, let the noise rise, let the world run in circles. You've got something better. You've got time. You've got vision. You've got the kind of fire that doesn't flicker. It waits. You've got the kind of silence that echoes louder than screams. And while they're all obsessed with being first, you're playing for forever. That's the game they'll never understand. That's the weapon they'll never see coming. Because patience, real patience, isn't just a virtue. It's a superpower. A razor blade in slow motion, a lion pacing behind the curtain, letting the audience forget it's there until it's far too late to run.